So, it's been quite a while. Indeed. It's been too long, and here I am coming back with a very long video. And it's going to be a long series that I hope to continue quite a few times. But this is just kind of me waffling about life, Just thought I'd come on, go on for an hour, and just talk. So I don't know if this will be backed by gameplay. I might open up some gameplay mid episode just because I might get bored. So let's crack a coke. Let's get into it. So I don't really know where to begin with this. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Nicholas. I'm 17 to 18 next month. I live in the UK. I study sports in college, and I'm an avid anime fan and trading card game collector. As you can see, with this graded Lugia. This isn't a PSA Lugia, but it's a cool little Lugia card that is graded 10. It's a stamped Lugia from Paradigm Trigger. So I'm very proud of this card. The reason you may see me looking at my monitor, or like at this way, is because this is where my monitor is, and my webcam is over here where I'm pointing. So I may be looking over from which to which, just depending on what's more comfortable to me. I hope you can all understand that, and I hope you still enjoy this video no matter where I'm looking. I hope you can all take this as like a podcast more than an actual sit along, watch along video. Because this is more of me just trying to talk, waffle for a bit, where people may actually find it interesting. So, I've ran social media platforms before. I've got a TikTok that I rarely post on. I had a Twitch I used to stream quite regularly on. I have a YouTube that I don't post on, never really did post on, which I kind of understood that videos were never really my strong point, and editing wasn't really my strong point, say on that consistent schedule. So I naturally avoided that and went more to Twitch, and then went into clipping my own videos and put them on TikTok, which didn't really grant the best outcome, but it did leave me to learn a lot about how the algorithm works. So I've got an account for something completely irrelevant to this topic. I will not mention the name of or the purpose of it because I like to keep it secret. But it's doing decent. It's getting a couple thousand views a video. It's gradually progressing. We're going from zero. We're at like 5,000 to 10,000 views a video now. So we're getting into a position where I can be comfortable with it. And I've kind of learned a lot. Like, you don't have to post videos for your videos to do well, as weird as it sounds. I post photos, and the photos just have to be like relatable or to a certain target demographic that is big. You can't really post something, for example, to an Inazuma Red 11 community because there isn't that many people in that community. There's a couple thousand maybe, and then how many of that are on TikTok? It's and even if they're on TikTok, how many of them are gonna find your videos? Because even if they like the series, they aren't accustomed. They aren't all accustomed to that on their For You page. Whereas if you pick something big like football, for example, soccer for Americans, you can have that big, huge audience. There's like millions and millions of people who play it. So most people will know what you're on about. They're gonna be able to scroll because they're quick scrolling. They're not paying too much attention to these TikToks. They scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, this is kind of cool. It's funny. It's relatable. Save, repost. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, again, save, repost. You're not looking for these like really meaningful, impactful ideas on TikTok. You want like short, snappy bits. Like sometimes speeches do well. I don't really understand that one yet. I don't really understand how these big speeches do well. But sometimes they just grab your attention on a TikTok and you want to view it over and over. I don't really know where else I want to go with this, to be honest. I like TikToks. I like making TikToks because they're short. I can do multiple ideas very quickly. I don't have to sit with one idea for a couple hours. Which I know this may seem like what I'm doing here, but here I get to go like idea to idea to idea, like my own little podcast section, which I think is cool. I've always wanted to start a podcast. I've branched it off to my mates quite a few times. They've never really got on to the idea. So here I am. I'm sat here. I'm doing it myself essentially. I am creating my own podcast. the nitro cast, as we may call it. I don't know what we'll call it. I don't even know. It might just be Nick Waffles. It might be something like that. I guess that is another side I should introduce. Um, on my online personas, I go as nitro player. Uh, on Discord, games, pretty much everything. I put myself as nitro player. On my Bandai app and my Bushiroad app for when I can be in tournaments, I'm nitro player. Not that any of you really know what I'm on about. Probably, I don't even know. I don't know who's seeing this, but I have quite an avid experience playing trading card game tournaments. I've been playing trading cards since I was about 8, 7, 8, somewhere around there. I say 8 just because I don't want to, like, I want to say the later age, just so I don't say, like, more time than I've been playing. So 9 years in total now. It would be 10 in August. Well, we say 10. I don't remember exactly when I started, so we're just going to say 10 as the general consensus, I guess. But they have been a very big part of my life, as I can literally show you. I've got cards scattered everywhere. I've got cards on my left, cards on my right. I've got cards in front of me. I've got graded cards. I've got slabs. I've got sleeved cards. I've got full decks everywhere. No matter where you go, behind me here, if we look like there, there's cards there. That's a deck box with two decks in. They're all Pokemon cards. They're all like judge cards and stuff. But my point is, I play card games a lot. I branch into many different games. I've played. I started with Vanguard, then went into Yu-Gi-Oh. Tried Pokemon when I was younger. Never really played it. Went into Magic. Magic was pretty fun. I went into like Lorcana, Weiss Schwartz, Buddy Fight, Digimon. I'm into Lorcana. Did I say? Rebirth U, Union Arena, Dragon Ball is good. Um, yeah, I'm just trying everything, because I feel like every card game offers such a unique experience, even if it's multiple, like similar card games. Like you have Bandai card games, you have One Piece, you have Dragon Ball, you have Union Arena, you have Digimon. These all have same mechanics in, like, for example, your security, or your life. Sorry, in different games, they're different terms. They all like have different mechanics, but they all work the same. They all have triggers or security effects. Um, Apart from Dragon Ball, we don't have that in Dragon Ball yet. The Fusion World, at least, Fusion World. I don't know about Masters. I didn't really dabble in Masters much, but we have trigger effects. We have um, like once you hit X amount of security or X amount of life effects in some games. Some of them have that in One Piece. Some decks have that mechanic, and Dragon Ball, every deck has a mechanic where you hit four life or less, and then you flip over. Some are free, some are different requirements. But there are all these like similar mechanics built in. Energy systems are very similar for Dragon Ball and Union Arena. In you place cards from your hand to energy, and then in Digimon it's a very unique mechanic where your cards have a play cost, and you work on a shared energy system with your opponent, and you start on zero. If you play a card, you move to your opponent's side that amount of energy, and then if it goes past zero, it goes to your opponent's turn. So if they have one, they can play. But then it just limits the things they can do. So the smaller things you play, the smaller things they can play. And then if you play a big thing, it punishes you because they have a lot more memory. They can play into lots of smaller things, or they can do their bigger plays without really getting punished as much as you probably will. So it's a very interesting mechanic. It's very interactive. It means you have to think not only about what you want to do, but how your opponent can retaliate with how much energy you give them. Because you can play a small thing and then they can't do much, or you can play their big thing, they can do much. But if you play your big thing, you have to worry about can they deal with your big thing with the amount of energy you give them. Because you can give them like 5 energy or 3 energy, but then have a really big body because you've stacked it up over multiple turns in your breeding area. Because your breeding area is an uninvolved area of play. Nobody can involve that unless there are specific cards that say there are very few amount. It has to be a specific card that says this does this to the breeding area. But not many things do that, and not many are ran. So you can stack your big body in there and bring it out, and it's very cheap because you've stacked over for like 5 or 6 turns if you haven't died. So it's very interesting in that sense how your opponent may have to punish that, or they might have to just rush you if they see you building a big body. I really like these two mechanics. I like that in Digimon. What I don't like about Digimon, I don't really know. I'm not exactly sure what I don't like because it's a great game. I think the mechanics are great. It just doesn't suit me. I think it takes a lot of time, maybe. I think that might be one of the issues. I don't like card games that I have to sit for ages playing, although I did like Vanguard for a lot, and that was fun because it felt like there was always something you can do. I feel like in Digimon you can brick very easily, and then there are not many outs when you brick. In Vanguard, you can always, because now you have a ride deck, you can always discard for your ride deck, go up and up. And even if you're not playing optimally, you often can at least get a few attacks in a turn by just playing like grade 1s and 2s, stacking the column up. Because you can boost, you don't need a one single card to attack on its own. You swing your Vanguard, you get drive checked, so you get additional advantage. So I really like how that worked. I liked how Vanguard's triggers worked, how you had 4 different types, or even 5, 6, 7 different types as we progressed through the series of the game. Uh, I thought that was really cool. You had critical triggers that dealt an extra damage. You have heal triggers that heal you damage. You have sand triggers that allow you to attack multiple times to gain advantage of attacking in like decks like Nova Grapplers or things like that. Different strategies work with different triggers. OTT wanted to run more draws and sands because you want to gain advantage and just whittle cards out of your opponent's hand. Well, more aggressive decks like Kagura want to run more crits because they just want to deal high pressure amounts of damage and then ramp you up to the late game. These really like different versatile ideas were really cool to me back in the day because I used to love Vanguard. I used to love the game. There were different mechanics like Limit Break 4, where you had to be on 4 damage out of the 6 you can take. So you had to purposely take damage so you can use your strong effects. That was really cool because it means that you can't just stay on low life every game. You can't just stay at like 0 damage whilst your opponent tries to play through an aggressive early game or something. Or like even if they play a bad early game, you sometimes are forced to take that damage just so you can on your first grade 3 turn go into your limit break, and you gain advantage, but that you're in a higher damage situation, which your opponent can try and punish with their high stands or their own effects, because then they're getting pressured by your limit break, so that puts them at limit break. So all these different mechanics always just seem to take it away from me, make it really interesting. Pokemon was a really interesting game for me because it didn't have a direct mulligan system, but it also had mulligans if you didn't hit a basic card, a basic Pokemon. So like a first aid, you like you have like starters. They go from like Tepig, then Pignite, then Emboar. If you didn't have the first stage like a Tepig, you couldn't play the game. So you had to shuffle your hand in, draw, and your opponent had the choice. Had the choice is a very important wording to draw an extra card. This is very important because it means that your opponent doesn't have to. So if you do this over and over and over, say you get 25 or some stupid amount, your opponent doesn't have to draw that many. They can draw like 5 or 6 and just have a stacked hand, but then not deck out. If you were to go like 50 times, for example, if you run like a 1 basic, because that would be a really oppressive strategy if you had to draw. People would just run 1 basic Pokemon that had like a really good attack. Like I don't know, for example, Iron Thorns, because in that deck, in the Iron Thorns deck, people only run 4 Iron Thorns. So what if people just go, okay, I'm running 1 Iron Thorns and then 59 energy or some stupid thing like that, and then they just went, oh cool, I've mulliganed 70 times. You draw your whole deck and I win from deck out. That would be pretty crazy. I like decks that have different strategies, like winning from deck out. I like them little win cons, like in One Piece you have Nami. Nami's pretty fun. Nami is a deck that says, if you deck out, well, not if you deck out, if your deck reaches 0, because in some games your deck out is you draw when you have 0, so you can't actually draw. But Nami says when you hit 0 cards in your deck, you lose the game. No, you win the game. You don't lose the game, sorry. You win the game instead of losing the game. Which is a really interesting way to play. because it means you just run a ton of like spells and options and these like defensive cards that always come up, and they do different things. Like they mill you cards, they draw you cards, they permanently give your leader power for a turn, and it's all a nice strategy of having to um, balance that defense against like oppressive decks. They can go boom, swing, 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 and you have to go mill, 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 or draw, 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 and you have to manage how many draws you're getting a turn, how many life cards you're triggering, or like how many life cards you're looking at to try and get a trigger, because you're not always guaranteed to trigger, but some of these triggers do really good effects for your deck, like draw you two, which not only puts you at two less cards in your deck, but then gives you two advantage cards, or likely mill you more cards, or draw you more cards, or things like that. Another game that I love, I personally really, really like. I actually can't remember where I was going with this. Where was I going? I wasn't going. Okay, ignore what I was saying about another game I love. One thing I love about card games is competing. Competing in tournaments is so fun. Bringing your deck you've worked hard on, you've tested, or you just copied a list sometimes, or a deck you've tested, you've played in practice matches, you've gone online on webcams like this, panned it down, gone online, played countless opponents, or gone in a simulator, an unofficial simulator sometimes because they don't have official sims, and just go test, 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 test. You get to see some really cool ideas, some wacky ideas, some fun rogue meta decks that do really insanely well. You have these like storylines from regionals bring to worlds that just make card games fun. They have storyline. It's like sports. We have storylines. Like for example, I'm a football fan. In the Euros, England lost last Euros in the final because of penalties. In our most recent game, I'm recording this on the 9th of July. Um, just a timestamp, I guess. In our most recent game, we won penalty shootout, and we had Saka, who missed one of the most important penalties for the last Euros tournament, come up and score a penalty. It's a good storyline. He's developed, he's matured as a player. Gareth has given him more playtime. So we have a nice storyline that has come to it hasn't come to an end, because it would come to an end if he won the Euros and then won the World Cup. But it's coming to a conclusion, I guess. It's coming to a consensus that's like he's redeemed himself. So you have these stories in trading card games. One of my favorite examples is when me and my friends play. We play on Pokemon tournaments online all together, and I'm normally pretty bad. I normally don't do really well. I normally bubble when I'm playing with people, like in tournament with people. But then when it's just me on my own playing in the tournament, like I'm alone at my desk, no one's on call. I'm just playing like Bolt Ogre or like a deck I know really well. I go like really good in this tournament. I do really well. I can show it to people. It builds that character, builds a story. I went like 9th place, 20th place a few times. Like they're good placing, and it's great to see, and it's great to develop an understanding and a way to top tournaments more consistently. When you play so many tournaments, because I play too many tournaments, some people say, I literally wake up, I look at tournaments, I go, cool, I'm playing in this, 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 I schedule my day around that sometimes. People sometimes say, oh, what are you doing? You just don't have a life, but it's a fun way to play. It's a fun way to enjoy a card game. Some people don't enjoy card games to this competitive level, but then some people do, and then some people want to just collect cards, and that's fine as well. Everyone has a different way of collecting cards, different way of enjoying cards, different way of consuming this culture. Everyone has different ways of consuming every culture. We go back to sports, for example. People play it, people watch it, people go watch it live, people watch it from their TV, people go to pubs, people build communities of watching it, people build communities of playing. Like you have clubs, you have lower level clubs, you have mid level clubs, you have higher level clubs, you have academies for youth players and younger players, and then you have like communities around these youth players. It's a lot more big in America. How you have like college basketball, college baseball, college football, like American football, college. Like every every sport has like a high level in America that adults like watching college students, because it's like the youth of the game. They're going to develop into good players. They can scout the players and feel connected to these people. Like, for example, if I was to go watch a young Bukayo Saka when he was at the academy, and I was like, oh, cool, this guy's really good. I'm gonna like this player. And you watch him grow and grow and grow. You get to a point where he misses the penalty 3 years ago. You feel bad for him. You've grown this connection, and then this year, last week, he scored the winning. Well, not a winning penalty, but he scored the equalising goal, and then he scored a penalty that helped England win. You develop that really like interesting characteristic. You're like, oh, I've watched this player develop. He is like part of my life now. You have all these different things, and then you go buy a shirt of him. You go get a framed shirt, a signed shirt, like all these different consumables. People have so many different ways of connecting to sport, and that's a great way. I love playing sport a lot. I play volleyball. I love volleyball. Uh, I started last October. It's about to be a year of me playing. It's one of the best things that's ever happened. Um, I got an academy offer that I don't think I'll be accepting, sadly, but I'm grateful to have this opportunity. I'm grateful to be not. I'm not good enough, but I'm developing enough where they're like, okay, this guy's a good risk we take on. So I'm glad people see like that. I'm glad that there's always chances for everyone, no matter how good you are. There's always like grassroots levels, then it builds up as you get better at each sport. And there's always chances for you to just play it casually, or you can play it competitively. There's always tournaments for grassroots, but there's also just games. There's like meetup sessions in my local gym. They just do futsal, like futsal nights where you just go, you kick around, you have fun, you shake your hands, and you go off after. Like no wins, losses really matter. It's just fun, and that's okay. Like I think that's really cool how you can consume sport in so many different ways, and you can consume media and cards in them different ways as well. People like collecting, people just like looking at nice artwork. For example, my Bella Betty, I really like these alts. I'm collecting the full, the max rarity Bella Betty stuff. I have the cards coming in a bit. Cards actually coming like Wednesday, but the Don, for example, the Don in One Piece look really cool. Different artworks, different little previews here. You can see like the Shanks one, the Supernovas ones. People like the artwork, but people also see these alternate arts as like good ways to enjoy the art and play the game. Because, like I was saying, I'm building a deck with the nice looking artworks. This is a common card outside this alternate art rarity. It looks really awful in my opinion. So I've bumped it up to a higher rarity, and now I have these. They're not worth a huge amount, but they look nice, and it's my opinion, so I like how they look, and I'm going to use them. Going back to that topic about competing in card games, I think competing in card games develops you as a person as well, or competing in anything. It gives you a sense of maturity to know when you've lost and when to accept that. Maybe it was luck, right? Maybe sometimes you lose to luck, but then you have to also think, are there ways I could have made it that the luck wouldn't matter? So, for example, um, maybe you need a certain card to draw. Is there a way you could have made it so you didn't need that card to win the game? Is there a play earlier in the game you could have played so these routes wouldn't open up? So you have to look at it. Every play leads to your different plays, if you know what I mean. Like you always have to think your turn one play leading to your turn 7, 8 play. And I know it's very far to think, but it's like chess. You can't just go out, smash your pieces out because they're going to get taken, and your opponent's going to go in an advantageous board state. You also have to think every move, like you're going to do in a card game. You have to go, okay, I'm going to play this and this. This is going to set me up for my later game plays. I'm going to play an early draw engine that I can recycle every turn. It's going to allow me draw resources for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 turns until they kill it with like a boss or something like that. For example, in Pokemon or in other games, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to discard this card for the right deck in Vanguard. It's going to be in my drop zone. I can recur it in a later like turn or something. Or you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to save this card. I know I can't recur it in this deck. I'm not going to risk my chance of drawing this card. Or I want 2 or 3 of the Persona Ride So I'm going to always stack my persona rights and never let them go. You're always going to have these biases and these different ways you're going to play the game, depending on your future game plan. Sometimes you want to rush them early, so you don't really care about your late game. It depends on your matchups. You have to look at your opponent's cards. You have to be like, okay, this does this. I want to rush them early. If it's an evolution deck like Gardevoir, you want to kill their Gardevoirs and Rocks and Curlies early, so they can't develop a board and have a big process. It's just cool how it works. You gain so much experience from playing in tournaments. You meet people that can give you experience, even if you don't play them. Even if you're not playing them in the actual tournament, sometimes you go to a hotel, because sometimes you stay in a hotel, right? I stay in a hotel with my mates. I didn't stay in the same hotel, but in Cardiff, I went to Cardiff in December to play Vanguard. It was my first time playing a format. Night before, the boys all came to, like, two of my boys came to my room. They bought me my deck because I didn't buy the deck. I borrowed it off one of my boys, and we just sat on because I had a double bed. We both sat on this double bed. We had the TV on. We got like food because I was right next to like a Burger King, Tim Hortons, everything. I was on like Queen Street in Cardiff. If any of you know that, it's like a huge shopping strip. It was actually kind of crazy. And we just sat. We played Premium Vanguard for like 4 or 5 games, a couple hours. It was a lot of fun because you're interacting with your friends, you're interacting with the boys, you're having these little meaningful times, and you're also getting this valuable information that I took, and I didn't do well in day two, but it's not always about doing well. You always have personal goals. Setting these personal goals are always going to be good. Like for me, my personal goal is to win one game, which I did by I think round 3 or 4, which I then dropped from the tournament feeling happy that I won a game. It might not have been against a meta deck, it might not have been against a good opponent. My opponent was good, but it didn't have to be against a good opponent. I just wanted to win the game, and that's all that mattered to me. I got my first win in that format, and it's my only win so far because I haven't played since. But it's not because I'm just saving myself because I don't want to lose now, because I've won. It's because I just wanted that satisfaction for the format. So I'll go play different games. I have different goals in these different games. I'm going to get a top in Dragon Ball. I guarantee that. Well, I don't guarantee that, but I'm going to make sure I do one day. I'm going to practice hard enough. I'm going to play in enough tournaments, have my decks ready, have the correct combo cards built. I'm going to have everything ready to give me the best chance of completing my goals. There's a tournament I'm competing in 31st of August. In London, I'm going to be playing Pokemon and Smash. So I'm going to be having my Pokemon deck ready. I'm going to do Smash practice. I'm going to get my Switch. I'm going to practice online. I'm going to go. Last time, I got second. I got runner-up. That really made me sad. Because I haven't played Smash in a while from that point. And I played a really good player. I can't remember his name, but he was a Terry at London Anime and Game Con. I actually can't remember who it was, but he was so good. I think his name was like Night Stalker or something. He was ranked really high in Europe, and I did take a few stocks off him, but it wasn't a close game. He was toying with me, and we could tell, but it was fun. It was a good learning curve, and that's how all things should be. Even if you can't win from everything, you can get a message from something about what you can do better next time. And I hope that everyone has enjoyed this. This has been a fun little segment, just a little rant time. I never really do these rants, and it's been half an hour of me just talking to the screen. So I hope everyone who watches it will at least enjoy it a tiny bit more, and a tiny bit as much as I did. And I will be doing these more. I don't know when this will be uploaded. I may just upload it today. I may never upload it. But if you're seeing this, make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you want me to discuss next, rant session, and I will, because I'm treating this as like a podcast / rant session. So thank you all for watching. This is Nick, and I will see you all later. Peace.